What do you think?
I think we're dead meat. Real dead meat.
You're dead meat! Go ahead and laugh, you guys. If I ever find a little bastard that did this, they're dead meat.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Dead Meat Podcast, an extension of the YouTube channel Dead Meat. I'm James.
And I'm Chelsea. And we're boyfriend and girlfriend, and we like to get scared together. And we have to be very quiet today because we're reviewing A Quiet Place.
Yeah. Although we're not going to actually do that this entire podcast. That would be really annoying. But that's what we're doing today is a special bonus episode. We're reviewing A Quiet Place, which is out in theaters right now.
Yeah. So what we'll do is we will do a little review up at the top where we don't spoil anything. We give our pretty general thoughts, and then we're going to spoil the entire fucking thing. So get out and don't complain when we ruin the movie.
Yeah, so if you're looking to see this movie and don't want it spoiled, but still maybe want to hear, like, is it any good? You can listen for the next 5 minutes, and then we'll give a big heads up when we're about to get into our usual run through of the entire movie and all the details and all that stuff, right?
Yeah, we both have printouts of the Wikipedia synopsis next to us, so we're going to go through the entire thing.
It's a very detailed plot synopsis for a movie.
Yeah, I was
that
surprised
just
for a
came
new
out.
movie.
Mm-hmm. So it's John Krasinski and his real-life wife, Emily Blunt, and they're living in 2020 in a world where there aren't really any other people around, and they have to be super quiet. Is that all we want to give away about the plot?
I think so. I went in not knowing anything about it other than, seeing the trailers.
So that's as far as we'll tell you for the plot. Just they have to be quiet. Mm-hmm. They have to be real quiet. Mm-hmm. And if you've seen the trailer, you've probably... it's a great trailer.
It is a really good trailer.
Yeah, it got me super excited.
Don't bring snacks because here's the tragedy of A Quiet Place.
It's a quiet movie.
I decided, and I don't do this often, I decided to sneak in McDonald's French fries.
Yep.
And I was so excited that we left early enough for us to go through the drive-thru and get French fries for me to put under my sweatshirt so I could bring them in. And those French fries were so loud. The bag was so crunchy that I just had to set them down on the floor and I didn't eat them and they got cold.
Yeah. And cold French fries are gross.
Yeah. I will say our theater was very well behaved.
Mm-hmm. It was a 10 o'clock Thursday night.
Big crowd
screening. Huge crowd.
For a Thursday horror. Yeah.
Because this is just another one of those horror movies that approaches the genre in a new way.
Yeah.
And it has thematic elements to it. A lot of stuff about family.
Yeah.
That I was reading into.
I think John Krasinski and Jordan Peele, in retrospect, are going to be looked at as two people who, in this moment we're having with horror, are going to be looked at as two people who went to horror after they were already successful because they saw the potential in horror, and I think are going to inevitably change a lot of people's minds about the genre.
Yeah, and I think that their films can also give a lot of credit to stuff like The Babadook, The Witch, mm-hmm. Other movies that approach the genre in a more, I guess, high-minded fashion.
It's more like, I think the way they approach, horror is a bit more sparse. They're slow burn movies.
Yeah.
They take their time. They really think about what it is that they're trying to say with these movies. The horror isn't just, face value horror. There's always another layer to what's going on.
And they're movies that trust their audience.
Yes, big time.
Trust the audience to, be okay holding off on, big thrills. Mm-hmm. And trust the audience to understand the things that they're doing without having to spell it all out explicitly, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
I think, it's really cool kind of doing this horror channel in this moment where horrors, I think this decade, we're going to look back and be like, this was such a good decade for horror.
Yeah, I get so mad when people are like,
horror sucks now. No, horror is amazing.
Horror
right
is
now. Are you
maybe
kidding?
the best it's ever been right now.
I think it's honestly, horror is the genre that makes me go to the movies. I want to go see these movies in a theater, and I think that's so cool.
Yeah.
There's something, I think this movie could be hit or miss with an audience because, again, it's a very quiet movie. So if you have people talking and eating loudly, making crunchy sounds, I could see how that would get frustrating. And I saw some people on Twitter complaining about shitty audiences, but
Oh man.
our audience was very well behaved, and it was so fun to see in a big group because everyone was so tense, and you
Yeah.
could tell everyone was very aware of how noisy they were.
Yeah.
So it'd be worth seeing in a theater
For
because
sure.
the sound design is just so good.
Yeah, and you don't want to have to be sitting there with a remote adjusting your volume because most of the movie's quiet and then the loud parts are,
Yeah.
they're loud.
I would say it's very jump scare heavy. And I like to give warnings about that because I hate jump scares. So I was miserable this entire movie. I loved it, but it was a movie where I was so tense the whole time that I was ready for it to be over. I would say 8 out of 10 on the jump scare scale, maybe. 10 is like I shit my pants and had to ask a manager to clean it up or something.
Is 10 sinister?
Yes, 10 is sinister. Fuck that movie. Fucking hate Bagul. I hate him
Spooky
so
face?
much. Yeah.
That's our name.
We call him
for
Spooky Face.
Spooky face.
Sucks.
I will say going into it to set, because I'll say that the one thing that made me a little bit confused about how I felt about the movie after we saw it, I don't think my expectations for the scale of the movie were properly calibrated. I think I was expecting a wider look at the world
weird.
that we had. Yeah.
I had the exact opposite.
So I would say don't go into it expecting that. Expect a family-focused film just about these people that we're watching, because I think for a long time during the movie, I was waiting for it to zoom out a little and for us to see more implications of the premise and the setting, and that never happened.
Yeah.
Which is fine. It's totally cool. I think the movie's great and perfect. I can't wait to watch it again knowing the scale of it.
It's very single location survival horror.
Yeah, Krasinski has actually said he's cited Alien as one of his
I
influences.
saw Alien, Jaws, I think he cited as another example.
No Country for Old Men?
Did he really?
He did, yeah. Which is interesting.
Okay, I could see that. I could see in terms of tone, especially.
Yeah.
Interesting.
So yeah, the tone of it is, it's a I was gonna say somber. I don't know if that's right. Survivalist, I guess.
Yes. I'm trying to think of a good movie to compare it to. If you saw It Comes at Night, very similar.
Oh, okay.
Not in a way that I think either of them borrowed from each other. I think that they just happen to be, they hit the same kind of emotional place, I think.
Yeah.
And they have kind of the same vibe, and there's very much the same mentality kind of feeding both those movies.
But if you saw that movie and you hated it, and then you hear us comparing it to it, and you're like, well, I don't want to see it. No.
I mean in terms of setting and tone.
Yeah, we recommend it. Go see it.
Yeah, highly recommended.
You can, and I think you can watch the trailer without having anything spoiled. Usually I tend to avoid trailers because I like to have like super fresh slates going in. Feel free to watch this trailer or not, but go check it out.
The trailer, I'll say, having seen the trailer, the first, few minutes of that movie kind of addresses, everything you've seen in the, any questions you have. So then you really are just like, all right, what is the rest of this movie?
Yeah.
It does a good job at not spoiling what's.
For sure. I think 20 minutes in the movie, you've seen everything that you saw in the trailer.
Yeah.
Essentially. Mm-hmm. So go check it out. And now we're going to get into the spoiler
Now we're going to spoil it all.
aspect of it. So if you've seen it, or if you don't care about spoilers, which I don't know, I don't get that, but some, different strokes. Welcome to this part of the review where we go over it more in depth. Mm-hmm. So it opens on day 89 of this incident.
I forgot that there's days.
Yeah,
that
because
was
the rest
so
of the movie
effective.
takes place like
on one
472.
Yes,
so
it's
like
on that
over
one
a year
day.
later than this opening scene.
Yep.
This opening scene is scavenging in a store with the family of 5.
Yes. Family of 5, and immediately you're thinking, if you've seen the trailers.
I don't remember 3 kids.
Yeah. That the pharmacy, so they're scavenging in a pharmacy. One of the kids is sick. It reminded me of that scene in The Mist, which immediately I was on guard.
Yeah.
Like, it's a creepy ass abandoned pharmacy. And we find out that their oldest child, their daughter, is deaf.
Hey guys, it's Chelsea. So we totally blew it at this part. Reagan is wearing a cochlear implant in this movie, not a hearing aid. We start referring to these things interchangeably, which they're not. They're extremely different. It's also pronounced cochlear and not cochlear, like we do a few times. We're a mess. I'm sorry. Okay, back to the show.
She has is it a cochlear implant or is it just a hearing aid?
I think it is a cochlear implant.
Okay.
Cochlear implant? Cochlear?
I think cochlear. I don't
know.
know.
But yeah, and the actress Millicent something, I think. Do you have it? Cool. We've got our little notes.
Millicent Simmons is deaf, hard of hearing.
Which is great because Krasinski says, and you can read this on the Wikipedia article, but he says he wanted to cast a deaf actress just so she could properly convey that experience and teach them.
Yeah.
You never want to like misrepresent a person's perception and experience in life and just use it for a plot point. So I think that's very important and cool.
I think too that authenticity of her having lived that experience lends so much weight in scenes where she's upset or she is mad at one of the parents or where she's feeling these very basic human emotions where she's expressed those feelings before in the way that she has to do in this film because that is how she communicates. And I think when you have someone who isn't hard of hearing trying to portray a role like that, there's that block because you're not bringing your own authentic experience to that. I just think it's cool having someone who has felt those feelings and has communicated those feelings like she does. Mm-hmm. Like one of my favorite scenes is where she's mad at John Krasinski and they're kind of arguing back and forth and the choreography of it is so good.
The one where he's trying to give her the new
He tries to give her a new hearing aid and she's telling him to stop. And I just thought that scene wouldn't have the impact if you don't have a kid that has been in that place before,
Yeah.
So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't think we've said it all right, but the acting is great.
Yeah, the
with all
kids
these
are so
characters.
good.
The kids are great. Krasinski and Blunt are obviously consummate professionals.
Yeah.
And I mean, that's pretty much the cast. We see an older man.
Oh, fuck that guy.
fucking
That guy's
guy.
scary.
Yeah, and then the cute little kid.
He reminded me of an It Follows person.
Yeah, when he was like rearing up to scream, it seemed like his
It was
lip
so
went
weird.
into his mouth. It was like
his face started to like
contort.
suck itself into its mouth. It was
I think
so
I looked down to
weird.
write something in my notebook with my chicken scratch because I can't see in the theater, and I looked up and was like, "What the fuck happened to his
Oh my
face?"
God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, so they're in the store. They're getting medicine for the oldest son. Is he the oldest kid?
I thought she was the oldest.
She looks older. So the son's name is Marcus. Her name is Reagan. I don't think we ever hear these
I don't think we
names.
ever hear their names.
I almost expected the credits to just have mom, dad, son,
Oh, like
daughter.
mother?
Yeah, like mother, where it's like man, woman.
There are a few times in this movie I thought of Mother.
Yeah. Which isn't a bad thing.
Yeah.
So they're in a store getting medicine for Marcus, and then when they the littlest kid, Bo, I think is his name, wants a rocket ship.
He sees a rocket ship on one of the
toy
store
rocket
shelves,
ship.
and it's a battery powered rocket ship toy. So he brings it over to his family, and John Krasinski freaks out and is like, "No, man, we can't." So he immediately grabs it and takes the batteries out because it makes noise.
Yeah.
And it would be too loud, and it would attract whatever it is.
But on the way out, Reagan gives the toy itself to the little kid.
I forgot that even happened.
Yeah, so that's a huge point.
That's a big plot point.
Because she gives the toy to him and is like, you can have this she doesn't say this, but you can have this toy. And then she leaves, and then that fucking little kid grabs those batteries.
Okay, that's what I thought. I was like, she doesn't put the
She
batteries.
does not give the batteries.
Oh,
so
man.
so that's a big thing, because a big theme in this movie is the relationship between Reagan and Lee, John Krasinski's character, because as we learn from Marcus, the son who doesn't get killed immediately,
Yeah.
later on, he he kind of is this mediator, and he's like, you know that she thinks you blame her for Beau's death. And, you know, John Krasinski says he doesn't. I feel like he kind of does, at least a little bit.
Oh, man.
You know, in the halted responses of his.
mean-
Because he asks, do you blame her? And Lee kind of hesitates just a bit.
Yeah.
And then he's like, no, I don't. And then Marcus asks, do you still love her? And the response is immediate.
Yeah.
Like, of course I do.
Yeah, I think that was probably a deliberate choice.
Yeah, so,
I mean, he's human.
For sure. You know,
This
when
movie, by the way, I cried through a lot of it. It is family guilt, like just oh man,
a lot
it
of
is
family stuff. That's the central theme.
It is. It's
family.
just family stuff,
Yeah.
and I think all those scenes where it's just guilt over what happened, man.
Yeah, and like you said, he's human. When something like this happens to the youngest kid, which we'll explicitly spell out in a second, but you're going to replay that over and over in your head. You're going to wonder what could have happened to prevent that. And of course, you know, I'm sure we never see the conversation where, oh, I gave him the rocket ship, but we presume that he learned that Reagan did give that toy.
Yeah.
If not the batteries, but still, of course, I'm sure part of him is thinking if she had just not given him that toy.
Mm-hmm.
Because on their way home, they're walking across a bridge, and it's a great fucking scene. It's such a good scene.
It's
so well
good.
done. 'Cause
Yeah, so they're walking back home from this pharmacy, and you realize they all have no shoes on. They're all barefoot.
they're walking on like chalk.
It's sand.
Oh, okay.
They're all walking single file, and they have, you know, you can tell that they've over how many days?
It's been 89 days.
Oh, 89.
In
So
this opening scene.
they've poured sand out to make a path from this store to where they live so that they can walk barefoot and not make any noise there and back. And then the little kid with the rocket ships in the back, he's behind everyone else.
Yeah, and I think it's a shot of John Krasinski when you first hear the rocket ship.
Man, that scene, I kept thinking about that scene today. So what happens is the little kid, you don't see him, you only see John Krasinski. It's like a shot of him kind of leading his family.
It's like a head-on
It's
shot
a
of
close-up shot, and then you just hear this like
And especially because it's single file, you don't see anyone
don't
behind
see
him. You just
anyone.
see him.
all you hear is this crazy like it's like a toy, yeah, the toy rocket sounds.
Yeah.
And they're so jarring because up till then it's just been basically silent.
Yeah, because even though we don't know exactly why they have to be quiet up to this point, the silence in the movie is so unfamiliar to
Yeah.
us that the tension is so high and the stakes are so high immediately that in the store, when the rocket ship like fell off a shelf, and I think I
Emily
forget who
Blunt
grabs it.
catches it.
Yeah, she catches it. But you like grabbed my arm because even though we don't know
We
exactly,
have no idea, but you're so set up from the beginning that like you can't make any noise.
Yeah.
And it's so tense that you are immediately freaked out by anything that these characters touch or like get nearby.
So yeah, once it finally does create that
Man,
loud
you
electronic
hear that
beat,
rocket sound and my stomach just dropped. It was such a good moment.
and
of
then it does a great
dread.
thing by cutting to the daughter Reagan. And a lot of the times in this movie, when it cuts to Reagan, we hear it's like point of view hearing.
Yeah.
We hear like just room tone. And
Yeah.
no
So
sound.
she's wearing a hearing aid, but it's, from what I gather, is John Krasinski keeps trying to build her better ones because it doesn't quite help her hear. I think she can kind of perceive even like vibrations,
Some
frequency.
vibrations,
You know, like
maybe.
I'm not really sure.
Yeah.
But we get the idea that it's not like a fully effective hearing aid.
And she doesn't hear the rocket
She
ship.
doesn't hear. She's completely oblivious.
So that adds to how awesome this scene is because like John Krasinski turns around horrified, and then you see the daughter who's like
Totally
what?
oblivious.
And then she turns around and they see that little fucking kid with that rocket, man. And then Krasinski runs to go save him or knock it out of his hand or whatever, and it's too late.
Yeah, if some fucking thing comes
Some
out of the
fucking
woods.
thing, yeah. So
Yeah.
The Wikipedia article describes them as spider-like.
Yeah, they.
I feel like mantis might be more they have like
Oh.
kind of mantis-y claws.
yeah.
Yeah. They're fast.
They reminded me of the Cloverfield monster, but way smaller.
Yeah. Yeah. They're
Yeah.
little hunters. They're little sound hunters. Mm-hmm. And that's the cold open to the movie.
Man,
Is that
it's
kid
such
getting
a
killed.
good.
That like 4-year-old.
Yeah, you know what? They kill a kid
They kill a
in like
kid,
the
dude.
first 5 minutes. that's horror movie.
Yeah.
We're killing kids.
This movie's fucking serious, man.
Yeah, for sure.
So then it cuts to, after the opening title, it's day 472.
Yeah, our theater just gasped.
Yeah, so it's been over a year since this incident, and then we get to see them living their lives. I was going to say
Living
best
their
lives,
fucking
but
no, it's not
No,
their
it is
best
not
lives.
their
It's
best lives.
their fucking miserable, quiet lives where they have to be afraid of everything around them.
Yeah.
Fuck. I just
yeah.
had anxiety this whole movie. You can't fart in this world.
You know what I was thinking? One, Lucy gets real loud sometimes.
Oh yeah, she's dead.
Lucy's dead.
Lucy's dead.
Because when we're sleeping at 4 a.m. and she decides she wants some food, it's just
yeah. And so Lucy has, we call it's rainbow toy, and it's just like this long piece of felt rainbow colored
It's
fabric that she
disgusting by
drags
now.
around, and she doesn't do this any other time. She only does it with rainbow toy in her mouth. She just like yowls until we pay attention to her. It's so weird.
Yeah,
She'd be
Lucy,
dead
you're
real.
so
We're
fucking
just
dead.
looking at her like, oh.
Yeah. I also had the thought of, I love crunchy foods. Crunchy is
No
my favorite
crunchy
texture in
foods.
foods. So like no tostadas.
Yeah.
No. Yeah. I'm not having a good time in this world. I'm not having a good time in this world, man.
I was thinking, I know everyone was thinking about how the mom and dad would have sex. And I think we have that explained later. And I was very
I'm skeptical
grateful.
of your explanation.
I think everyone will disagree with you.
Okay, let's get into it. 'Cause
Okay.
They go to later on. They go to a waterfall.
Sure.
And
So John Krasinski takes the son
Yeah.
to the waterfall. I do want to talk more about the scene that comes before that because I have
Mm-hmm.
a lot of feelings about it. I apologize. We're going to be jumping like all over the place. We're still processing this movie. But John Krasinski takes the son to this waterfall because they can go fishing there. And the waterfall allows them to talk at a normal volume.
which is so jarring in this movie.
It
where
is. It was
everyone's-
weird hearing him talk.
Another cool thing about this movie is it's all American Sign Language.
Yep.
And which is awesome.
I believe Millicent, the actress, taught them a lot of, how to emote, how, someone who is deaf and using sign language to communicate, how, they would feel in that moment and like what that would look like. Again, that's why it's so cool to cast someone who knows what that experience is. I think it adds such a layer to the emotion.
Yeah, and there was also talk, again, it's in the Wikipedia article, but in case you don't want to read it, just about how the different characters sign differently and how, like, the father is short, like, survivalist, to the point things, and the mother is more expressive and, like, nurturing, and then
Yeah.
the daughter even has, like, a kind of rebellious, like, attitude-esque signing, which is really cool. Like, I think that's great. But yeah, so when they're speaking in the full volume of their voice at the waterfall, it's like,
really weird.
It's weird because
Yeah.
you've just heard them like signing and like barely whispering.
Yeah. And the son freaks out because this is his first time at the waterfall, I think.
Yeah.
And the dad has to explain, it's fine. If you're by if you're by something that's louder than you, you're safe, which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
I had that thought before they went to the waterfall. But that sets up a lot of what happens later is this idea that you're fine if there's a louder sound that's close to you.
So Chelsea's theory is that these parents went and had sex by the waterfall.
Yes. Why is that a weird...
Because where are the kids?
They're at home.
No, you're not leaving those kids at home by themselves in this world. They're gonna make noise.
I
and
don't
get
know,
themselves
they-
killed. Babe, I think they're just gonna have quiet sex.
That's weird.
It's
I was wondering, and I think the beginning of the movie also sets this up nicely and answers this question. Why are they having a kid?
yeah. So that's like the first thing we learn after that opening scene
Yes.
is
Emily Blunt's pregnant.
Emily Blunt's pregnant. Immediately, I'm like, babies
Why?
are loud.
They're so noisy.
How you about to have a baby in this world?
Yeah.
What? But they're doing it, and I didn't exactly perceive that they were setting up a soundproof room. Like the kids are putting newspaper up on the
Yes.
wall, and that didn't click till later when they used that
Mm-hmm.
that they were trying to set up this soundproof fortress for this.
The baby.
Yeah, the inevitable birth.
It's something I've already seen people nitpicking that, why would they have a kid? And I get it. Because I immediately thought that too. Like, why? That seems like the worst thing you could do. But I think the beginning of the movie sets up, you immediately have the death of their youngest kid. You have this guilt. You immediately understand that all these characters feel guilty about what happened. And I truly think that that's their way of kind of filling that hole.
It's also a thing that it's a question that comes up in every dystopian, post-apocalyptic setting, comes up a lot in Walking Dead. Is it right to bring a kid into this world? And that's a question that's going to divide people. But some people do believe, yeah, we got to continue the species.
Yeah.
Like things are hard, but if we just give up, then that's going to be the end of people. And so that could be their mindset. That's never really, that's not what this movie's about. So
you know,
it doesn't
at
address
some
it.
point you have to just accept, like, people are going to people, you know, like people are going to have kids in that world.
Yeah.
You know,
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. And I think, you know, the pregnancy and realizing that she's going to have to give birth is such a great, you just immediately dread knowing that that's going to happen at some point during the movie. And that sets up such a good feeling of fear waiting for that to happen. And I think the setup with them losing their son in the beginning makes that make more sense.
Yeah, and that's why this movie, as I said earlier, the number one theme in it is family.
Yeah.
For sure. Because I wrote down a line that I figured was kind of like the thesis of this whole movie. I can't find it, but oh yeah, here it is. Who are we if we can't protect them? Mm-hmm. Emily Blunt says to John Krasinski, talking about their kids. Mm-hmm. And so much of this movie is based on like the family unit. Not only do they have this outside threat in the form of these apparently extraterrestrials, as the Wikipedia article said.
Yeah, they're aliens. I kind of got that vibe.
Did you?
Yeah.
I mean, where else are
you
they
know what?
come
It's
from?
weird. I wonder if, because John Krasinski's little like office. I just call
workshop?
everything offices. His workshop. He's got newspapers all over the wall because you can tell he's been trying to figure out what these things are. Like he's doing all this research. He has newspapers everywhere. And
I will say that stuff's a little unsubtle. On his whiteboard, it's like
yes.
defeat them. How?
How? Weakness? Question mark. Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever. The newspapers reminded me of War of the Worlds a little bit. You know, the titles or the headlines were like "Angels of Death come from." You know, it was very
like sound. They use sound.
Yes,
and, like, you're on your own.
Yeah,
like,
they
get
didn't
underground.
feel like modern newspapers to me, and
No.
so I got like a War of the Worlds vibe. So I think I immediately got that they were supposed to be aliens, and I wonder if that was intentional.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
But not only do they have that exterior threat, but the only other people that we see in the movie are the old man and his dead, presumably wife.
Yeah.
And they're a threat. They immediately present danger to John. So it's like it's this family unit against all else. There at one point earlier on in the movie, Krasinski's up at like the fire beacon, and he looks out and he sees a few other fires. There's like so you can assume that there are other people living similarly to this. And I think that also kind of set my expectations on that wider scale. I was like, oh, are we going to see those?
I think I had that thought too.
We never do, which again is fine. I just, it's better to know that, I think, than to expect it and never get it.
But, thinking about it, why would we ever? Because even if their neighbors get the sense that something's wrong, like so what they do is every night they light a big fire that's on top of this silo. And so they look out and they see all these other silos light up so they can see where all their neighbors are and stuff. And they're all pretty far away. Mm-hmm. Even if all their neighbors kind of get the sense that something went horribly wrong, what are they going to do?
Yeah,
they can't move. They can't do anything. They're not going to run towards it. You just have to sit there and wait it out. Mm-hmm. So I think it makes sense that we didn't see neighbors show up to save the day. I like the idea that they're there. I think that's a cool little touch of world building.
Yeah, and I think it just further is with that theme, and maybe I'm pulling it at this point, but just like this is a world where the family unit is now the most important thing.
Yeah.
As opposed to a societal thing. It's all about your immediate family members, and those are the people you're protecting.
That's also a thing that reminded me of It Comes at Night.
Yeah.
And I'm trying to think of other movies that do that, where it's kind of you have an apocalyptic event and immediately we retreat to what makes us the most comfortable. And it's this idea of like very traditional mother, father, son, daughter. Like they all have traditional roles because the world order's been so upset that it's like, okay, this is the one thing we can do to bring us back to what we know is to keep this traditional family unit.
So prior to that is just that scene that we see in the trailer, the Monopoly scene, which I think is an excellent illustration of this world because all the plastic pieces have been replaced with little felt,
Except
like
the
knit
dice.
pieces. Except the dice, because you can't really have dice that are like knit.
This is such a nitpick.
Okay.
This isn't a real nitpick, but I'm just trying to get creative. Like, what would I do?
Yeah.
I would just make a little bag, number 1 through 6. Reach in the bag, you pull out a number.
Well, there you go, Chelsea.
But you don't have to worry about dice going on the fucking floor.
Yeah, so they're playing
Yeah.
Monopoly, and then they spill over a lantern.
Oh my god.
And it creates a big noise. And yeah, in the trailer, I'm like,
I
oh,
thought that was the big inciting
I thought that was the big
incident.
inciting
So when it
incident.
happened that early, I was like, oh fuck.
yeah, and that's one of
We're-
the best things because like I hate it when trailers spoil things, and we see that the thing that, like we said, we thought was the big moment in the movie from the trailer just turned out to be like a hint of the threat because that noise doesn't attract the aliens. Krasinski's able to like put out the fire and they're all quiet.
But then
again.
there's so what?
Giant jump scare.
No, I hate it.
The raccoon?
so much.
Because
yeah.
he's looking out the
Is
window.
it a raccoon?
I think it's a
I
raccoon.
thought it was like wombat.
or like a possum.
They're like gophers or something.
It's some
They're
kind
very
of-
cute. they hear noises upstairs, and then these fucking like wombats just fall out of the attic window or something.
Yeah.
Like while John Krasinski's looking out the window, and it's like wombat, and it just falls onto the ground,
Yeah.
and then that wombat gets got.
Yeah, that's another thing I was thinking. I was like, animals are fucked.
Yeah,
Can't
they
train
make
an
too much
animal before-
noise.
And then we saw, yeah, they're pretty fucked. So yeah, that was like the scene building thing. Oh, you know what? We also see in this, because this is day 472 and the action takes place on day 473. For
Okay.
anyone wanting to follow that, we do see Krasinski building the cochlear implant, which is pretty impressive. I'm assuming that his prior career had nothing to do with electronics.
I'm assuming. I
Or
think
maybe
we
it did.
get the sense that one or both of them were doctors.
Oh,
or,
yeah?
Because
I didn't think about- I
she
didn't
has
wonder.
a blood pressure gauge.
I had assumed that was
and-
equipment they had scavenged.
Maybe
You know,
from the
knowing-
pharmacy or something.
Yeah, knowing that like they're gonna need it later.
But I mean, to know you're gonna need that, I think you. I don't know. I don't know.
Yeah, and it never goes into it, and the movie doesn't suffer for it. It's fine because either way, either he's an engineer or one of them's a doctor, or he just found a book about. I'm sure there are books out there about how to make a fucking cochlear implant, and so he was trying to do it. If it's cochlear implant and we're just saying it wrong this whole time, I bet so many people are cringing every time we say it. In any case, we see him trying to build it, and I love that he's doing that. That's part of that relationship with him and his daughter. He won't let her in the basement, so she doesn't know.
I forgot that she can't go in the basement.
Yeah, and
Man.
when she tries to go in the basement, he says she can't, and he says, "You know why?" I don't know why.
I mean, because there's a ton of shit you can knock over.
I guess.
That's
yeah.
what I assumed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
I
maybe-
assume that like none of the kids can go down there
Yeah.
because I don't think we see the kids ever go down there.
No, not until the end. And the last thing in this day 472 is Neil Young. Yeah. Because, yeah, I was thinking like early on in the movie, I was like, oh man, no music, fucking headphones.
Yeah.
Because he also is getting stuff for a radio and using headphones to try
That's
to do Morse code just to anywhere to find signals. He never does.
Yeah.
But Emily Blunt comes downstairs and they dance to Neil Young.
That was such an effective music cue.
Yeah.
I love that song.
Oh, I
How do you
love
not
Harvest
love
Moon.
that song?
It's so
I
good.
saw Neil Young. I can't remember if it was 2 years ago now. Just amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing. You have to sit through the songs he sings about Monsanto. You know, like midway through the show, he does a lot of songs about GMOs, but then he'll sing Harvest Moon and it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. You
It's
just have
all
to
worth
kind
it.
of clap for the environmentalist songs. And because he gets grumpy, he'll just straight up leave during shows.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Yeah,
appease
you
the
have
Neil
to
Young
like,
dude.
okay, very good. And then he'll just blow your fucking mind with Harvest Moon and, you know.
Man, I'm so jealous you got to see him because we probably won't have him for too much longer. He's
Yeah.
getting up there.
He sounds exactly the same, though. It's crazy.
man.
He might be around for a while. He might be one of those.
I hope so.
He might be like a Willie Nelson. He smokes a lot of weed and
Yeah, that'll
takes
keep you
pretty
young.
good care of himself, I think.
So now it's the next day, and like we said, she wants to go downstairs. He won't let her, and then he and what's the little boy's name? Marcus. They're going to get some fish. Marcus doesn't want to go. I like how scared Marcus is.
I know. Marcus is a sweet little boy.
I'd probably be that
I
scared
love the
little sweet
kids.
boy.
Often in movies and in horror movies, it's easy to hate child actors.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to hate the kids because they're dumb or they're annoying or they're precocious, but these kids are so great and you want to protect them the whole time.
They reminded me of less annoying versions of the Jurassic Park kids.
I thought of Jurassic Park.
Yeah, there are a few
A lot.
scenes where Jurassic Park gets, I don't know if it's intentional or not.
I can think of two very specific scenes.
Running through the crops with the flashlight, the little boy. Oh, that's kind of more Lost World, which you only saw the one time, but I was obsessed with as a kid. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking of
Grain silo?
the grain silo.
Yep.
That reminded me of the T-Rex and the Jeep.
Oh, okay. It kind of reminded me of the vents. And where they fall through the vent and you see Lexi's stunt double.
And the and the other scene is Emily Blunt in the basement of the house, and there's a creature in the basement. It reminded me of the raptors in the kitchen.
Yeah.
So basically, A Quiet Place is all of the really scary parts of Jurassic Park, but the whole time.
Yeah. These kids are great. You got little Marcus who doesn't want to go, and then
this is the scene I was talking about. I think what I loved so much is that John Krasinski wants to take the son to learn how to fish, and the son's never been to the river before, and he tells the daughter that she can't go. She needs
even though
to,
she wants.
She
to.
really wants to go. Marcus doesn't, but the dad just tells her, no, you need to stay here and take care of your mother. So he's doing that very, it's patriarchal family unit, really traditional. But I don't think that that's his true motivation there. And I say that because we see him trying to make these hearing aids over and over and over again. And right before that is the scene where he tries to give her a new one. And he's like, I really think this one's going to work. And she just gets mad because she says, they never work. And it's this really emotional scene. It was one of my favorites. The acting was
best scenes,
amazing. It was almost like a dance, the way that they were communicating, because it's all kind of one shot. And it felt, I don't know. That scene was just really, really gorgeous. But
yeah, it was like give and take, like him trying to.
So he isn't able to give her this new hearing aid that might work. So my thinking is, he doesn't want her to come to the river because that's inevitably where he shows the brother that they can talk and they can make noise. And hearing, the dad's voice, I think is something really big for that kid. And I think his real motivation there is not wanting her to come because she wouldn't be able to experience that. And I think that would just kill him. And I think for her, it would just, I think he doesn't want to do that to his daughter.
Like his big plan is, here's a hearing aid. Oh, now you can hear. Let's
go to the river and I'll show
awesome
you can
thing.
make sounds and you can hear me talk to you.
Yeah.
And I think he kind of lies. I think he kind of dresses it up as this, no, you have to stay home because you have to take care of your mother. But I think it's this secret, really sad motivate. Like, I think that's really tragic.
And it's especially tragic because it feeds into her perception that he doesn't
love
like
her. But I think he isn't letting her come because he loves her so much and doesn't want to, he wants her to be able to have that experience and doesn't want her to feel cheated. Mm-hmm. And I think it's really, really sad. Their relationship in this movie is
so good,
really good.
And so it's at that waterfall scene where, like we said earlier, the son tells John Krasinski she thinks that you don't love her, that you blame her.
Yeah.
And he's like, you should tell her that you love her if you do.
Yeah.
Which sets up for super heartbreaking.
Oh man,
at the end.
guys, I cried so much
Chelsea might
during
cry
this movie. I was
podcast.
crying. I'm gonna cry while we record this.
Yeah.
It's so good. It's rare when a horror movie can get you to cry, even though the lead up to all of that is so scary.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Reagan goes off on her own, kind of as a teenage rebellion to visit Bo's gravesite.
His little memorial site.
Cut the sound off his rocket ship and put it there.
Yeah.
The mom's left at home. I like the shot of her doing laundry by hand right next to the machines that they can no longer use. Like, it was just a good illustration of like
oh, I
how,
didn't even catch that.
yeah, it was just like a little illustration of like how things have changed in this world. You
Mm-hmm.
have these washing and drying machines, but you can't use them because they'll make noise. So just gotta do it by hand.
Yeah.
I thought that was a little interesting. And then on her way upstairs with the laundry, the bag catches on a nail.
Guys.
That in that moment, we're like, it's gonna make a lot of noise, so we're all tense. But she gets the bag free. The thing that it does is exposes the nail.
Yeah,
in
so
the plank.
this like cloth bag catches on like a nail that's sticking out of one of the boards of the stairs, and what it does is the bag kind of bends the nail upwards. So now this nail's sticking straight up, and it's just this nail that you're waiting for someone to step on.
Yeah, and now's a good time as any to mention there is a score in this movie. There's music. And I like it. It's by Marco Beltrami, who has scored a ton of horror movies, most notably probably the 4 Scream movies. He's worked with Wes Craven a lot. Yeah,
Okay.
so he did those the music in those movies.
Yeah.
And I saw Krasinski said he didn't want to have it without any music because that'd be too much.
He said something like, I didn't want it to feel like it was an experiment.
Or like a gimmick. Yeah.
A gimmick, yeah, which I think was a good call.
Great choice. Because people are so familiar to certain language in filmmaking while they're watching movies. There's just a certain language to how it's edited, how it's made, how it sounds. And to remove dialogue almost wholeheartedly from the movie is already such a big decision.
Yeah.
You don't want to go overboard and also remove music. Because then, yeah, it starts to feel like I'm in film school. I'm watching someone's...
Look at me deconstruct cinema.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So I think that was a good call. On
good
this
music
part.
there, and sometimes that music is used very effectively, like in this nail reveal, where it's just like, I think it's like screeching strings.
Yeah.
It's just like, oh shit.
Oh my
it's
God.
a big deal.
There's so many objects in this movie they set up as potential things that are just gonna fuck everyone's shit up.
You know, she's walking down the hall, and they have all these pictures hanging on the wall.
know.
What are they doing? Take those pictures
Take those
down, dude.
They're even in the daughter's room when she's packing up her bags before she goes to visit her brother's memorial. There's like a lamp that's hanging on a chain that she keeps walking by, and I'm like,
No,
like,
yeah. I mean, our apartment, we're always hearing little noises just from like walking around, or like even when we're sitting still, little vibrations that like rock things leaning against the wall. You gotta take care of that shit in this, man.
Yeah.
So they see that old man who is standing over the body of who I presume to be his wife.
Yeah.
She's dead. I don't know how it happened.
I was confused by that too. Did
Yeah.
she get murdered by a creature?
I
Or
don't
did-
think so.
Did he kill her? Like, what's
I don't think
up?
that either. I had that thought. I feel like maybe she just. I didn't get a good look at if there were wounds. She seemed bloody.
She was bloody. Yeah,
she was bloody.
Yeah.
I don't know what happened. I'm assuming he didn't murder her, or maybe he did as a way of like, this is too hard. This is no way to live.
Yeah.
She's dead, and now I'm going to commit suicide.
That could be. Yeah, we don't really know. It's pretty ambiguous.
Yeah, but he just screams.
Yeah, it's crazy. So they notice. And by the way, this dude scared the shit out of me. He just kind of showed. It's a little jump scare moment. Again, it reminded me of It Follows, just like random scary old person out of nowhere. But yeah, you see this guy get ready to start to scream, and John Krasinski's like, no, don't do it.
Yeah.
And this guy yells.
At the same time is when her water breaks. at
Yeah,
home.
the rest of the movie's just like,
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
But this movie's so good in that every little thing that happens is like a setup for later, because like you got the son telling John Krasinski, which is now his character's name on this
just
podcast.
John Krasinski.
Like, you should tell her you love her. And then we see this guy yelling as a way to commit
That's
suicide
right.
and attract
That's
these aliens
right.
to his position. And so that comes back later in the most powerful moment of the movie.
Oh my God.
For sure. But after Emily Blunt's water breaks, she heads downstairs, and that's when she steps on that nail, dude.
Yup.
And then she
drops
what she's holding.
I think it was a picture.
I think it was something glass. I don't know, but yeah, that shit's fucked from here on
Yeah.
out. She turns the lights that like they have all over their home and estate, their property.
Yeah.
There are lights everywhere, and she flips a switch to turn them red, which is an indicator to the family member still out hey, this isn't good.
Yeah.
Because there's a thing in the house.
Monsters and Christmas lights are having a cultural moment.
Yeah, so the lights are red, and she has this cool thing where she sets an egg timer
Yeah.
to distract the monster with a louder noise.
It kind of looks like they had a shelf of emergency items.
Yeah,
to kind
which
of
is great. I love
throw.
seeing that kind of
And
preparation.
I had that thought too. It was
Yeah.
like, why wouldn't you just have something around you at all times and they do. They've.
And even better is when Krasinski and Marcus see the lights, it's fireworks time. Something that they have set up, which is brilliant. And I love seeing these capable people who have prepared for possibilities and inevitabilities and how to deal with, for instance, this incoming birth. She's trying not to scream, which I've never personally given birth, but as I understand, it is a painful process. So it's probably quite difficult to not scream. And Marcus has to run off and set these fireworks off to distract the aliens. And it goes off right at the nick of time, and she's able to scream. And it's so great. Mm-hmm. I just love that they have this set up.
Yeah.
But now they're separated, and it's so sad that from this point on they're all they keep getting separated.
I know. It's exhausting.
It is.
I just want them to be back together.
Because Krasinski gets back home to Emily Blunt and finds her. Not
and
in the
another
tub,
jump scare that
with
I
another-
hated a little bit.
Yeah, the red hand.
He goes in the bathroom and
That was a cheap
she's
one.
not in the tub anymore. There's blood everywhere, and he's like, "Oh no!" And then there's a big bloody hand on the
that was cheap because she wouldn't have made that loud.
Yeah,
That wouldn't have happened. That was a little bit of a cheap one, but whatever, John.
Yeah,
we'll give you that
whatever.
one. So now John and Emily and new little baby, which I don't know how that baby's quiet at that point.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess the fireworks were going off.
Yeah.
And then you can just assume he fell asleep.
I don't know.
By the time they finished. Again, suspend your disbelief. It's fine.
Yeah.
And then they finally explained. The whole time I was wondering, what are you going to do with that new baby? Because it's going to be crying.
And then you realize, they were showing you this whole time because you're watching Emily Blunt do all this weird shit with an oxygen mask and stuff, which I'm like, I don't know what that's for, whatever.
Yeah.
And you realize it's because they were making our entire theater laughed at this part, which I kind of enjoyed. You realize that she was making a box with it. There's an oxygen tank with a hose to a little baby-sized oxygen mask. They put the oxygen mask on the baby. Put the baby down this box, and then just put this giant lid over this box.
It's a soundproof baby box.
It's a soundproof baby. For some reason, and it made me laugh too. Everyone just started laughing.
When
That they're
she
like, "All right,
the
bye."
lid over the baby, and the cries get quieter, the whole theater laughed. It was funny.
Yep.
It was great.
They put the baby in the soundproof box.
Yeah, and they went down there in this soundproof basement because he pulls the mattress over the opening. Mattresses are good at muffling sound, and so
is that beneath the basement?
I don't know. You know what? I'm not positive. It might not have been in their house. It might have been in a garage.
I did have
or
a little bit
shed
of
or
trouble figuring out where everything was.
I think the soundproof little place that they were in was, you know what? It was definitely separate from the basement because it ends up flooding. But then in the end of the movie, they're in the basement.
Okay. That's
So
that's when I got a little confused.
I think it might be in a barn or a shed or a separate structure.
I could have used a little bit. I appreciate when movies color grade locations differently.
Oh,
so
yeah.
if this, soundproof basement thing was in a different building on their property, just some kind of visual cue would have helped because I was really confused.
Yeah,
but
the
whatever.
spatial arrangement kind of screwed me up a little bit, but it was fine. It was cool because we saw this soundproof room, and I guess the reason that they hadn't been using it this whole time is because when John Krasinski wakes Emily up later, she's like, "It worked." They weren't sure if it would work, and it was they were building it for this baby, and if it works, good. If not, they're fucked either way. So, it worked. It was cool. But then when he goes out to go find the other kids, and this is when she's like, "If we can't save them, who are we? We have to protect the kids." He doesn't notice, which I thought was a little weird, all this running water. Because the monster had apparently thrown a little temper tantrum upstairs when he couldn't find them, and part of it was destroying some kind of water line or whatever, and so water was flooding through the floor and into that that soundproof chamber. So Krasinski goes out to save the kids who have since gotten to the top of the silo. And again, we see the daughter strong in that belief of like, he'll come save you. He doesn't care about me.
Yeah.
Which is just heartbreaking. And then he falls down into the grain silo or
Yeah.
corn silo. It's a silo.
It's a grain silo.
Yeah.
So they originally go up there because every night they light the fire so that their neighbors all, I think it's checking in with the neighbors pretty much.
Yeah. Oh, and previous to this, we see, there was actually an important point. Not only do the daughter and son meet up, but the daughter's hearing aid, it is shown, emits a frequency that affects the alien beings.
That's right, yeah.
We see, and I think this is a cool thing, is that we see the aliens' kind of perspective, not like a first person thing, but we see what they're hearing and how it's affecting
Their
them.
like heads
It's so
like
cool.
open up on the side, and the sound in the
Roaring
movie gets
teeth.
louder, and so we hear what they hear, and we hear how sensitive their hearing is.
Mm-hmm.
But the daughter's hearing aid creates feedback when it's close enough, because essentially their ears are like giant microphones.
Yeah.
So the hearing aid creates this feedback when she gets too close, and it makes them just tweak out, and so it
Yeah.
runs away, and she has no idea. There was one behind her at one point. She had
didn't even
no
know.
idea.
But I think she suspected.
Yeah.
Because she heard the frequency. Because I think when they get close, it causes the frequency to
Yeah,
happen.
I think she knew something was up.
Yeah.
Because she's shown to be really smart.
very
so
smart.
when she figures out by the end what she's able to do with the frequency from her hearing aid, we've seen a few instances where she's able to put together that that's what was happening the whole time.
Yeah. So the sun falls through these like metal swinging
This is
doors
such
into the
a
grain
nightmare.
silo. The daughter doesn't even realize it at first because she
Oh my
didn't hear it.
God.
She wasn't looking. And then she sees down there, and then like, yeah, you don't like the thought of drowning in grain, huh?
No, because people die that
Yeah,
way.
that happens. And the writers who originally wrote this,
Did they talk about that scene?
yeah, it's Scott Beck and Brian Woods. They wrote this years ago, and I guess in January 2016, so a few years ago. Oh, they began working on the story in 2013. That's what I saw. But they included this scene because I guess they both grew up in Iowa on farms, and because they knew that was like a dangerous setting for families and people they knew.
Yeah, people die that way.
Yeah.
Like often.
I guess, yeah, because you can't get on top of it because it's kind of like quicksand.
It's quicksand. You can't. So if you fall into something like that, like it's just corn that
Mm-hmm.
he falls into.
Which, by the way, Krasinski had grown locally and paid
Shut
local
the
farmers
fuck up.
for all those tons of corns that they used.
Like, no, that's a really cool thing, but that's also the most hilarious detail. Do you remember when he made that like fracking movie with Matt Damon?
We saw that in theaters. Yeah. So yeah, they're in this locally grown corn.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because the daughter jumps down there. They also have a metal door that they can get on, like Titanic style, to ride the
so the thing with
grains.
being in something like that, and why people fucking die in corn silos every year. I told you I was gonna look at the stats and I forgot to. But is if you fall in, you're just displacing all of the grain beneath you, so you just sink.
Mm-hmm.
The only way you can get out is if you just stay still and someone has to get you.
Yeah.
So when they both were in there, I was like,
Yeah, you were freaking out.
yeah.
And they're making a lot of noise, so a creature winds up in there with them, but saved by the hearing aid again. They're hiding underneath that
The
metal
door,
sheet,
yeah.
and he's like clawing through it, but the frequency is able to
It's the
drive
door
them
from the
off.
opening of the silo. It like
Yeah.
comes off the hinges and falls
Almost
in.
hits him. Yeah, when it falls
Oh my
down.
god!
Great
I almost
scene.
just guillotined that kid.
Yeah. But the frequency drives the aliens so mad that it just busts out the side of that silo.
Yeah.
Which is a cool image when we see it. And then finally Krasinski meets up with them. And yeah, man, they get into the truck. They have this truck that, again, set up earlier when Marcus was like in there
Yes!
playing with it. This is a tight script.
It is. It's
It's
a
a very
very
good script.
like I would love to watch it again to see the extent to which so much stuff is set up in the beginning. It's really cool. Like there's
Yeah.
nothing in this movie that doesn't have a point.
Oh, this truck is placed purposefully.
Yeah, just in case.
Just in case they need to make a quick, quiet getaway. Because what happens is the kids are in the truck, man. and the alien starts like coming at him.
Mm-hmm.
And Krasinski, he was swiped earlier, so that's why he's not in the truck with them. He got like hit by it.
Another thing people did point out, and something where again I'm like, that's a fair criticism, is why isn't the monster able to just punch through the roof of that car? Because it
wasn't? I thought it was.
I think it's having kind of a hard time.
Oh, then that doesn't make sense because we just saw him
just
tear through
wrecked
that green
silo.
stuff.
I'd have to see it again, but whatever.
Yeah, small. Because the important thing is
the thing I prioritize is the emotional payoff, which is insane in this scene and the worst.
Because Krasinski gets up and he sees his kids and he signs to the daughter, "I love you. I've always loved you." And then he yells like
he's
the guy in the
primal
forest did.
yell.
And to Marcus's credit, he knows that in that moment when John Krasinski yells, it's time to push the truck into neutral.
So it rolls home.
So it just rolls home because that was how they had it set up. Oh my God.
I think you could hear people sniffling in the theater. It was like
it's a very powerful
It's a tearjerker, man.
Mm-hmm. But they roll on back home and reunite with Emily Blunt.
Mm-hmm. I think this is the scene where...
we skipped over the basement flooding and the baby Moses.
Oh, yeah.
This floating basket with a baby. And there was a monster down there, too.
Yeah.
That only ran away. Oh,
because
she like hides underneath
she
the
hides
mini
behind
waterfall.
Some water.
Again, something set up.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then
the sun falls into the silo, and that's what makes the monster run away.
Yeah. This whole time we've been dealing with one monster. We see early on John Krasinski's plot point whiteboard that there are 3 confirmed in the area.
Yes.
But yeah. So that was the trajectory of all that. They reunite with Emily Blunt and they go to the basement where where the daughter
James, I was crying so much.
Well, when the daughter sees all the stuff that John Krasinski had been
the
working
daughter
on.
realized she's in the basement and she realizes that the dad has made so many fucking hearing aids and like different versions of hearing aids, and she just is like holding them and crying.
Yeah.
And she realizes how much her dad loves her, and I was crying so much.
Yeah, and there's so Emily Blunt has a shotgun that we saw earlier John Krasinski had, and then the thing winds up in the basement with them. But because this girl is smart as a whip, she puts that implant up to the microphone and amplifies the feedback. And
which again, the microphone we had because John Krasinski was trying to
radio. And the monster just like freaks out, and because on the whiteboard we saw that they have like armor.
Yeah, I saw some people were confused about this. Like, why does the feedback matter if she can just shoot it? The feedback matters because the feedback makes it tweak out so hard that it's like outer armor on its skull kind of opens up and it exposes like kind of pink insides, like it's
kind of like Demogorgons out.
So it's all exposed.
And that's what Emily Blunt
she's able to shoot, which you wouldn't be able to do if you didn't have it all like weird and exposed like that.
Yeah, so
those two
alien.
working together are able to kill one of the.
And Marcus was there too.
Marcus, he was holding the baby.
He was holding the baby,
which is interesting because that's such a reversal of the roles that we've seen this whole movie, where normally you'd expect, the girl or woman to be holding the protecting the baby while maybe the dad has the gun, maybe the brother is doing it. But I think it's a cool reversal of that. Yeah. And it doesn't feel ham-fisted.
It's one of those things that I think it was Betsy on Horny for Horror pointed out how it's such an infuriating thing in movies when there's a group of people and there's like a few guns and they give guns to the men and the boys,
the little boys
instead of
grown
grown women. Yeah.
That's something I never noticed until she pointed it out, and then it made me so angry.
It sucks.
But I like that Marcus is, he's not doing nothing. He's holding the baby. And
because that's his.
We've seen the whole movie that he's kind of a reserved,
like more sensitive.
That's his role. I think he is naturally just, for lack of a better word, a little more maternal, and that's fine.
Yeah, and then they see on the monitors. I had mistakenly thought that it was like a giant swarm of aliens coming to them. And I was like, oh, they're kind of fucked, even though like they get ready with the implant. And
no, it's just the other two.
It's just the other two. So that gives me a lot of hope.
Yeah.
They could defeat these two and then be in the clear for a little bit.
And then maybe, finally be able to reach out to neighbors and then finally tell people like this is how.
Yeah. And I'm sure there are some people out there like, well then let's have a sequel. It's like you can just imagine that in your head.
I already saw articles of people telling like
People
like
always
John
want a
Krasinski
sequel.
talks about it. I'm like, no, we don't need.
If they made it, I'd see it.
Yeah, but
But you don't need it.
why? Because then it's just an action movie.
That's usually what happens with sequels.
Yeah,
it could
but-
be the aliens to this alien.
I guess.
I don't know.
I just think a lot of the fun is gone if you know how to defeat them. And then, I mean, admittedly, it's kind of cool to have a movie where it's the mom and the daughter just like blowing away all these
I imagine
aliens.
a Mars
but
Attacks type thing where they're rolling around with like a speaker in a car and just like amplifying
Yeah.
it. 'Cause was it Tom Jones who was destroying the Mars Attacks aliens? Or did you not make it that far?
I might not have made it that far. I think I
'Cause
tapped
we
out.
started watching
We
that movie one time and it's not good.
I had never seen it because the aliens scared me so much.
I
I hate them. And so I was like, okay, it's what I want to see. I've seen like every other Tim Burton movie. Let's just do it. Couldn't do it. Tapped
we
out.
started late.
We
to
did,
be
but it
fair,
also was very
but
bad.
it's not that good of a movie. I want it. You think it's fun. It's not as fun
not
as it
fun.
pretends to be. Although you get
Jack Nicholson, though,
Oh, I was gonna say you get real young Jack Black, but yeah, you do have Jack
Nicholson
playing two roles.
playing two roles simultaneously, not giving a fuck, but also giving like an incredible scene-chewing performance. I don't quite
real weird how he
understand
does
that
that.
balance, but like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's the best part.
All right. Well, that's A Quiet Place
Yeah.
out in theaters now, directed by John Krasinski. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I've got to commend them for making a really good PG-13 horror.
That's right. I didn't realize it was PG-13 until
PG-13.
on the way into the theater. And I saw that and I did not it didn't make me pause. I was
Yeah,
like,
me either.
that makes sense. It's I don't expect a gory, crazy horror movie. This is one that works super well. Exactly how it is. Could you see, with the precedent of Get Out from last year, could you see some award nominations in this movie's future?
I hope so.
It's got like a 99% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I'm
It's
worried that
highly
it'll
rated.
be overlooked. Same with Annihilation.
Why? Because they're early release?
Because they were a little earlier.
Get Out came out in February.
That's true.
Yeah.
I'm hoping at the very least that it wins all the sound design awards.
Yeah,
'cause-
both those movies should at least be nominated.
Yes, or in
those
score.
awards. But I would love to see this movie get some love and just keep that ball rolling of getting this genre respected
Yeah.
as it should be. But yeah, thank you for joining us for this extra long
Fuck. I have to edit this, man.
bonus podcast of A Quiet Place out in theaters now. Make sure you do all the podcast stuff, rate and review us on iTunes, on whatever podcasting app that you listen to us through. You can find Dead Meat on social media, of course, on the YouTube channel, Dead Meat, and on Twitter and Instagram at Dead Meat James. Chelsea, where can they find you?
I'm at Carebeck, CAREBECC on Twitter and Instagram. And if you want merch, we have merch, deadmeatstore.com.
That's right. We got t-shirts, we got pins, we got stickers. If you want to follow me personally on social media, it's at James A. Janice, Instagram and Twitter. That's more political. Avoid it if you don't want that. And other than that, I think that's covered all the bases. It's hard to keep track with all the podcast stuff.
Coming Tuesday, review Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, that's right.
Again, there won't be a video for it, just audio, but it's
But
very,
We'll
very fun.
have movie clips in that one, right?
I think I'm going to throw some movie clips in there,
Okay.
yeah.
Obviously, we can't do it with a movie out in theaters. And I can't do a kill count on this movie that just came out in theaters. So please don't request it anymore. Some of you already have. But yeah, Tuesday's Maximum Overdrive. Watch the movie if you can.
Yeah, please.
It's a lot of fun. It's a cocaine-fueled nightmare. But yeah, until all that, I'm James.
I'm Chelsea.
This has been Dead Meat Podcast. Yeah.